Hey folks, welcome to another Broken Meeple show, and today's a special one because I'm announcing a new award that I'm hosting. You know, loads of other places have all got awards for, like the best game of the year and the best game of this, and the special, I don't know, let's call it just rough examples off the top of my head or something, but you can have like the Man vs. Meeple award, you can have the Dice Tower awards, Rado's award, whatever. Everybody's got an award these days. Well, I haven't yet, so it's probably about time I did. So naturally I'm going to do a vote by you, the community, so, YouTube comments for definite here. I'm not going to have my own influence on here, on what you actually consider to be the best game ever. This is like the Broken Meeple Best Game Ever award, and I've already picked some nominees as regards to what I consider to be like fantastic games and deserving of the award, but you people can vote on those ones. And like I say, you may disagree with the choices I've made as to what you consider to be the best game ever, but understand that these aren't biased in any way, and this is just essentially I've done some research, I've put time and effort into this, and I feel that these 5 games you'll agree with me on. So I've got 5 games? Yeah, 5 games. I'm just going to give a brief overview of each one, and then I'll leave it to you guys in the comments to vote on your best one. So let's start off with one of the titans of gaming these days, and that is Food Chain Magnate. Food Chain Magnate from Splatter Games. This one managed to teach people that artwork is an unnecessary thing in games. You don't need artwork. You don't need artwork to make an amazing game, or to make even a one that's good to look at, because it's already good to look at. The whole tile laying thing, the greys and the beige everywhere, that's all vibrant and colourful. It's all that you need. I mean, Sin City was black and white for the most part, and people still like the look of that. So what? And film used to be black and white, but nobody complained about the lack of colour then. So why does the lack of colour have to affect this game? On this one, you are building your enterprise of selling Coke and burgers and fries to various households, and it's very tight, very mean-fisted. You're hiring employees to run your business, from anything from waitresses to advertising agents, and it's one of those games that takes just a nice, comfortable length of 4+ hours. Any less than that, and it's just not worth sitting down to play the game, really. And it uses that brilliant notion that the designer had, which is if you can't lose the game on your first turn, what's the point of the first turn? Fantastic, agree with it in every way possible, which is why, even though in this game regularly you will play it and you will absolutely get mullered after the first couple of turns because you made your critical error, you only have yourself to blame. But even then, you get to play through the game no matter what. Even though you will not affect the winners, you still get to play and develop your enterprise and at least have fun with that. Yeah, okay, you won't win, but who cares about that at the end of the day? Yeah, you won't have any direct effect on the other players, but again, who needs interaction anyway? With this, you just get to sit there and have fun with your little enterprise, taking employees, realizing that it was your fault that you made a mistake. But then you get to sit down and play the game for another 4 great hours where you learn to improvise on your strategy to improve the way you play and to better yourself for the next game. And all for a low cost as well. We're talking, like £100 and something, I believe you get it for when it's occasionally in print. But the reason why it's so low in stock is because it's just that good of a game that there's just no point in publishing too many copies of it. So Food Chain Magnate, a definite nominee. So next up, we have this is a good one. Yeah, one of my favorites. This is the titan of Power Grid. Power Grid, the Freedom and Freeze game. Oh yeah, with this one, I mean, first of all, green box. Green box, love the color green, that's all good. But with this one, you are building an electrical network across all these different maps, and you've got all the different map packs. People will sort of sneer at map packs and think, well, what's the point? There's not much change with the maps. Not so. You play on this map and it's totally different in layout. The lines for the counties are written in completely different perpendicular angles to all the other lines on other counties on other boards. And people will always scoff at you don't use all the counties. You cover half of them up in every game. Yeah, but would you rather it came with lots of modular boards? Nah, we're light years behind that kind of technology. It's much better and much more cost effective, allowing this to be a cheaper game for you, to simply cover it with tissue paper. Cover all the various counties with tissue paper, that way nobody makes a mistake. And again, aesthetics aren't important in games these days, so what does it matter if there's a bit of tissue paper over there? But then, once you get past the aesthetics, you have the amazing strategic gameplay. Those long, drawn-out auctions where you're involved for the entire auction. well, unless you're not actually sitting in the auction, but then you get to watch, and everybody loves watching auctions. Auctions are fun. Auctions are like great fun to watch. And with this one, you get to watch 2, maybe 3 people out of the 6 of you, just sit there and wrestle with each other for money. It's like, and you just get monumental occasions like someone going 30 or 27. It's tension filled. It gets your heart pumping, and then somebody goes as high as 65, and it's like, whoa, he's a madman, a madman. But then the next person goes 124, and while you wait for the next player to recalculate the maths so he knows exactly how to do his turn for 10 minutes, those 10 minutes you can try and get over the near heart attack you've been feeling from the tension of such an auction. And then eventually the auction finishes, and then you have to go through this same thing multiple times. So you get to have that same amount of fun multiple times in a relatively short time of about an hour every time that happens. And with this, you then have to place those houses on the board and connect up your network. Network connection is always a good thing, but with this one, you have not only the borders of the counties you're not using getting in the way, to make it more challenging, but it's also great that the numbers are so different among all of them that the mathematical brain you must have is easily going to be made approachable to all players because everybody knows how to count. So the maths in this, where you've got to deal with like really high auctions and the different pathways and recalculate your turn, it just adds to that strategy. And the downtime is not even a problem at all, because with downtime, it means that you're sat there with people for longer. Yes, they're in silence, but you're there with the people, and that's what matters. So Paragrid, definitely one to try out for another nominee. So thirdly, let's move on to Gloom Haven. Gloom Haven, oh yes, I mean the game that everybody talks about. Need I say more about this giant, absolute killer of a game? Constantly at number 1 on Board Game Geek, despite what its ratings would say otherwise. It doesn't need, you don't need 50,000 ratings to make a game at number 1, it just takes a few, We know Board Games Geek's rating system is watertight and free of bias or anything like that, so it's only fitting that it should be at number 1. And with this one, you get the huge bucks, and yes, triple digit figures, but then you're paying 130 odd quid for the box, but it's big. And that's what you want for your money. You want a big box. That's what that money should go to. Yeah, there's some games that can do it for cheaper, but then, are those games as good? Nah, I don't think so. But with this one, you've got not only the game itself, which is this integral Euro puzzle with a dungeon veneer on it. Because we're not interested in dungeon crawls at all. We don't want immersion or anything like that, thematic immersion. No, we're into puzzles. Puzzles is key. When you did puzzles as a kid in school, sitting there doing like crossword puzzles in your books, I'm sure all kids at school did, you were glad that this game tried to sell you on a dungeon crawl theme, but then gives you a Euro puzzle, where you've got those dual-sided cards, dual-sided? My mistake. Those dual-use cards, multi-use cards, where you have to play them tactically in order to game the system, game the combat, and progress through a thing. I mean, yeah, you don't need total immersion in the game, and it's sheer genius how we get over these niggling problems like dishing out loot, for example, because now you have to play the card to pick up loot. I mean, you're in the midst of combat, and you've just finished slaying your enemy. You haven't got time to pick up loose change. You need to do it tactically through card play, and that's far more thematically immersive than anything like that. And once you're done in the dungeon, game's over. The dungeon's over. You all go home. Nobody's got time to ransack the treasure chest that's in the corner. You're done. You should have done it before you killed the final boss. That's the way it works in every fantasy movie, and it's represented perfectly here. The modifier deck, where you get to mitigate your combat, even better genius. People will say, well, it's just a die, isn't it? Yeah, but it's a card deck. Cards are better than dice. Who likes dice? The dice tower, they don't. They talk about dice. It should have been the card tower. That would have been a much more approachable name because people much prefer cards. And yes, you can edit the deck in order to improve your combat skills. Well, okay, isn't that just a custom die? Yeah, but it's cards. Cards are so much better than a custom die. And, as you have already proven, that deck of cards is so much more interesting than dice. Seasons? Who needs big, quality, chunky, colourful dice or anything like that? Who needs that chance? That chance factor. Who wants to not be able to game a system in a dungeon crawl? This is what we want. Little deck of cards, and they've represented it brilliantly. On top of that, you not only got the game itself of the actual puzzle, but you've also got the other Tetris game of getting it out, setting it up for an hour, and then at the end of the 2 or 3 hours you play the game for, spending another half hour to an hour, putting it away, and realizing that it's a challenge in itself, not only to set it up, but also to figure out how it goes back in the box. It gives you a free game of Tetris for no extra money. For that 130 odd pounds, you not only get this amazing dungeon crawl puzzle game, but you also get to a free game of Tetris. I mean, what other game has value like that in the box? You know, all these other games, they never give you free DLC or anything, but this one gave you an entire Game Boy game classic in the box. And what more do you need? So, 2 more to go. Let's move on to, Concordia. Concordia, yes. Definitely deserving of a nomination on this list, because with that one, you know, it's a medium weight game, so medium weight's usually a good one for those, but even then, you have the beige, like, colourful board, and the colourful board doesn't have to be thematically immersive or anything like that. Again, we've already established that in these last 3 games that theme can be an afterthought. But with this one, you've got the fantastic theme of trading in the Mediterranean. Trading in the Mediterranean will never get old as a theme. I love it to bits, and you guys love it to bits. You know, why would you need any other theme? Who needs alien space battles and, you know, fantastical dragons and cool, you know, like running a car factory, making wine, boo, boo, boo. Nah. You know, trading in the Mediterranean, trading silk and bricks and wood, and in the expansion, salt. I mean, oh God, when I get to trading that salt with that merchant there for money, oh my God, it feels so good to trade that salt. Salt is the king. But even then, the card play, where you play a card and it allows you to do an action and you can't pick up the cards until you've played another one, you know, it's great to do the deck building, as we all know, but with this one, not only do the cards give you the action, but you buy them from a tableau where they score you points for various conditions. And, you know, we like to give a bit of variety in games, so, you know, it's great that they give you about 6 or so different scoring conditions, but they're crafty. So crafty. Again, this is design genius, because, you know, you think, oh yeah, well, it's 6 things. They probably just made them all balanced, so it doesn't really matter. No, they didn't. They perfectly designed it so that only 2 of the 6 odd scoring mechanisms would actually be worth doing. Everybody knows that you only do it to build cities and to spread across the map. I mean, who messes around with those little people anyway for points? Who's like focusing on one resource in the game for those sort of points? Because if you focus on one resource, you won't do well. You have to diversify. Everyone knows that about trading. And then the whole thing of, oh, for all the different resources I have, I'll get points. Again, nobody likes to stockpile. I mean, come on. Think about what's happening in the world right now. You know, stockpiling, it's totally not needed. But with this one, it just greatly just makes you, half the challenge in your first game will be to figure out, oh yeah, they're the 2 overpowered strategies. They're the 2 things I should go for. And then in future games, you can focus on that, and it means that your game is constantly going well, and you'd never have a bad game from that point. Add to that the fantastic artwork on the box. I mean, the box cover alone, I actually felt like they made a bit of a miss when they reprinted it and made the artwork slightly worse. I mean, the original, you know, everybody likes that whole backdrop of a bazaar with a zombie female in the foreground, you know, because zombies existed in those times, you know, in the Mediterranean. So it totally makes thematic sense. And it's just, boredom is not a word you'll say about this game, and I don't know what people are claiming when they make this delusion that the game is boring. Nah, solid. You love it. I love it. It's going on this nomination list. And then finally, to wrap up this award, is Great Western Trail. Yes, Great Western Trail with this one. I mean, this idea that as Eurogamers, we love it when people just throw in everything in the kitchen sink into a game. We love mechanics and mechanics and mechanics. It doesn't have to be streamlined. I mean, what's the point of streamlining the game? It just makes it worse, doesn't it? So basically, what designers now do is that they basically blend in a ton of mechanics into the same game and then spit it out, and that's what you get. And it always comes up as a brilliant game. I mean, here, you're moving around the trail to get to the festival to sell your cows. Now, it could have just been boring cows on a tableau. I mean, on a tableau. You know, it's like, that's just boring. Nobody needs that. And it's too simple. So deck building is exactly what Alexander Pfister did, and it's genius, because now you get to actually do a deck building mechanic with cows, and, you know, most people like deck building, but with this, when you get to the festival, you think, oh yeah, I'll have the cow I need to sell. I've already bought these prize cows. It'll be perfect. Here's my prize cow. But then when you get there, it mysteriously disappears. Because, as we all know, cows are secretly ninjas. And they will hide behind everything. They'll hide in trees, they'll hide behind carriages, they'll hide underneath the cart. They'll do everything in their power to avoid being sold. So it's thematically sound that when you get to the festival, you don't get to choose which cows you sell. It's done by random chance. It's basically the ninjas that weren't particularly good at their skills. It just makes perfect sense. Add to that the multiple paths to victory that this game has. You've got the free characters that you can go for, one of which you probably will never do, but again, like Concordia, you're meant to figure that out in your first game. Nobody likes to do the building strategy anyway. Having the requirement for Venus to align with Saturn and stuff like that, it's just too much hassle in the game. So naturally, go for cows, go for the train. And there you go. You don't need to worry about anything else. It keeps it nicely situated on a linear path, which is exactly what you want. Yeah, pick up a few Indians along the way. Yeah, chop and change a little bit now and then. But just focus there and you'll do just fine. But even before that, the design genius. It looks great on the table. I mean, it's got trains in it. Trains are great. Who doesn't like trains? Honestly. Ugh, come on. I scoff at those people who say that trains are a bad thing. Trains are always reliable. They're always useful. They're not expensive. They go choo-choo, which is not an annoying sound in any way. And in games, it's just fun theme. I mean, come on. Who needs space battles with aliens when you've got trains? Trains are the way forward, and this designer knew exactly what he was doing to combine it with trains and Great Western Trail. It just works beautifully. And again, adding to the thematic nature of this, the idea that when you go to the festival, you teleport back to the start and go again. So you get to have this fun time of doing the trail as fast as you can, zooming back to the start by teleportation. And it means that you can play the game while singing a nice little nursery rhyme, like Ring a Ring of Roses, ring the roses, and it just makes thematic sense, adds to the enjoyment, allows you to roleplay your character, and role-playing always works in games. Yeah. I mean, this one is loved by so many people. It's got a few naysayers, but they don't know what they're talking about. So with this one, perfect for a 5th nomination. So there you go. Power Grid, Concordia, Food Chain Magnate, Gloom Haven, and Great Western Trail. 5 fantastic games that I adore that you definitely need to consider for this award. And I'm sure you guys are happy that I've picked these 5. I bet you thought I was going to pick 5 off my, these other lesser games here. Nah, I mean, come on. I told you I wasn't going to be biased. I was being fair here. So, like I say, I'll leave it to you guys to vote in the comments below which one you think you should win the Best Game Ever Broken Meeple award. And by all means, as soon as I've collated the YouTube comments and say, well, I was going to do it in about a week's time, but I would probably prefer it to do it under the 3rd crescent moon after Cthulhu has risen again. So yeah, as soon as that happens, shouldn't be too long before that takes place, I'll announce the results and I'll give the award personally to the designer themselves. And it will be done by you guys, the faithful YouTube community. So that's it from me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple video. And remember, as always, regardless of whether these games are fantastic for you or not, it's still only a game. Take care, and I'll see you soon.